Thank you very much, Steve. It's a delight to be here, and it is true to say that 9 months on, it's surprising how many people in this room I have got to know in that time, and I really do enjoy this brief. And as you said, that a year ago we launched a review of waste policy, setting out what we saw as the priorities for moving the UK to a zero waste economy. Now, a year on, I think it's appropriate that we look and take stock of what has been achieved and look forward and identify our future priorities. We've had a busy year and made some significant progress. 90% of our actions in the review are either on track or completed. The real theme of the waste review, and one which I would like to talk to you about today, is that of partnership. Partnership between industry and government, a partnership between the householder and the local authority, and partnership between the reprocessor and the waste management company. And we've got some good stories to tell where a real difference has been made. And the first example of such a partnership was the launch of the responsibility deal between the government and the waste management industry, and indeed followed closely by a responsibility deal to tackle junk mail. And delivering these actions has helped business in doing the right thing with their waste. It has helped improve the economy of UK PLC, and it's helped towards delivering green growth, green sustainable growth across the country. I owe many thanks to many of you in this room for the way in which you have engaged with this new way of doing things. Over the last 9 months, I've been lucky enough to get out and about and visit a number of different plants and businesses, all working together at different stages of the waste hierarchy. All these businesses face challenges, but what I've been struck by is the fact that they're all optimistic about the future. The industry has a can-do approach. It is constantly innovating and striving to develop. And I love seeing that entrepreneurial spirit in action. We've all moved from thinking of waste as a problem to be buried to one where there is a commodity with real economic and environmental value. Government still has a role, of course, and can help industry by giving it the confidence to invest for the long term. This was true of the government's decision to increase packaging recycling targets. They are ambitious, but provide the incentive and certainly are needed to encourage investment. Only a short while ago, I had the opportunity of visiting Ecoplastics plant, where they're in cooperation with Coca-Cola, where they're turning around empty plastic Coke bottles to be filled up again within 6 weeks in a closed-loop recycling investment with a plant that is extremely sophisticated but shows all the industry of the potential that there is for this type of high-quality recycling. And I hope we have all been able to nurture and encourage some of that spirit in our work. RAP have been hugely supportive in developing these partnerships through their work with local authorities, focus on improving SME recycling, the loan funds for the reprocessing sector, just a few examples of where they have made a real difference. If we look now to the future, I think we need to increase the focus at the very top of the waste hierarchy. I want to encourage and grow that spirit of entrepreneurialism and innovation that has been so obvious in the people I've met in the industry. I want to further focus that energy on preventing waste, reusing and recycling more. Preventing waste really should be a no-brainer. With a global economy facing increasingly scarce resources, the need to prevent materials being wasted becomes all too obvious. Community action on prevention of waste is also something we will be keen to foster. Just last month, my colleague, the Minister for Civil Society, Nick Hurd, launched a challenge fund with a prize for the best idea for motivating people to reduce waste in their communities. And I encourage you all to think about ways in which you can achieve this challenge of this fund and send in your ideas. In particular, wasting less of the food we grow will remain a focus for the coming year. Whilst we've made good progress in tackling this, household food waste has fallen by 1.1 million tonnes since the year 2006. There still remains a lot to do. However, it's not just about tackling householders' food waste. There's more that can be done by companies involved in the supply of food. Last autumn, Defra published date marking guidance to make it easier for consumers to understand what used by and best before dates actually mean. We are already seeing action. More labels are starting to drop the confusing display until dates, and I want to see more of this. We will be encouraging businesses to make sure that less food is sent to landfill. We want to ensure more of it finds its way into those charities who do such good work collecting good quality food and redistributing it. To help with this, we'll be working with those charities and the food manufacturers to remove barriers to donation. We're also working to develop a new voluntary agreement with the hospitality and food service sector. These include the pubs, hotels, restaurants and caterers. The agreement will seek to reduce food and packaging waste and to manage the waste that does arise more sustainably. I have to say that one of the most encouraging things I've seen has been the response that I've found as a result of approaching individuals I know in the wholesale food chain, and particularly fresh foods and vegetables, and the links that they are making with Fair Share, for example, and this will reduce the amount of food that is wasted in the supply chain. We need to develop different ways of designing, manufacturing and consuming goods and services so that less waste is produced. Today, I can announce that we are increasing the money available through the Waste Prevention Loan Fund to £1.5 million. This fund, administered by WRAP, provides financial support to businesses to help them improve their resource efficiency and create a greener economy. This will enable new business models which make more efficient use of materials resources, such as through the leasing of products, rather than the more traditional customer purchases and other such models to develop. And it will sit alongside a grant scheme to support innovation in small and medium-sized businesses and social enterprises. Ideas to make product reuse, repair and upgrading services much more available and financially sustainable. There are also numerous business opportunities for increasing the amount of repair and renovation of products that we have at home. How many of us here have something that needs fixing but no skills and no time to do it? When resources can't be reused, we need to ensure that they are recycled, not squandering resources but getting the most from them. We've made great strides in this area over the past 12 months, but there's much more to do. The government has set ambitious packaging recycling targets. Specifically, we want to recycle more plastic packaging and aim to recycle 42% by 2017. Now, I know that achieving this will not be easy, but we are engaging the key players in an effort to join up the chain and to make it happen. Getting recycling right and making it easy is reliant on partnerships. There is more that can be done at each and every stage of the chain. Householders can do more to recycle their waste. Local authorities and waste management companies can make it as clear and as easy as possible to recycle. And part of this will be providing consumers with feedback on what happens to their waste when they put it in the right bin. Some local authorities have really run with this. In particular, I've been impressed by the efforts the waste partnerships in both Somerset and Suffolk have made in communicating with their householders about where it is their waste ends up. I'd like to see more of that. I welcome another example of partnership working, the new voluntary charter for local authorities on where recycling ends up, developed by the Resource Association and LARAC. People want to know that the effort they make to recycle is worth it. And this type of information sustains recycling and householder engagement. Recycling brings about innovation. Communicating with householders does not have to be done by the local authority. I encourage more industries to consider the work done by the metals sector, for example, in their Metals Matter project, which actually resulted in more aluminium cans being recycled. When aluminium reaches £1,000 per tonne, why is it still being landfilled? There are also challenges to be overcome which I want to focus on in the coming year. In particular, I'm aware that many of you are concerned about the quality of recyclates which are being produced and the effect of that on the export market. I recently visited the OI plant, glass melting plant in Harlow, and there it's quite clear that the quality of glass available to the industry lies at the key to the success of this business venture and its ability to expand. And I urge this as an example of spread across the whole industry, that quality is what will carry the premium in future. We will be looking to work with the waste management industry, local authorities, reprocessors and waste producers to do more to tackle the issue of quality. In particular, we're looking at a MRF code of practice, and we hope to be able to launch a consultation in August. We want to publish an action plan on quality. This will look at better targeted enforcement of waste exports and level the playing field between PRNs and PERNs. Again, the key to this is partnership, the supply chain working together to achieve the outcome we all want, more quality recycling. Sharing of information on quality is key. At one MRF in Alton, Hampshire, information on the quality of recyclates from this facility is shared with each of the 14 local authorities that supply the facility with waste. Everybody involved in the process works in partnership so that feedback can be passed on to householders to improve waste collections. Through this work, local authorities begin to understand the value and quality of what and how much they are recycling, and this drives greater quality. I believe that the proposed MRF Code of Practice can set the UK well on its way to a new focus on quality recyclates, which will contribute to a reduction in poor quality illegal exports. As well as increasing recycling, we need to get to a position where landfill is very much the last resort for many materials, in particular biodegradable materials like wood. Putting these into landfill is not only a waste of resources, but produces methane, which is, as we all know, a potent greenhouse gas. As part of our commitment in the Waste Review, we plan to do an informal consultation at the end of July with the aim of finding a way to divert the substantial tonnages of wood waste that still ends up in landfill to better use higher up the waste hierarchy. Perhaps I can turn to something which has been with us for many years, traditional waste issues such as fly tipping and littering. As well as a focus at the top of the waste hierarchy, there does remain more traditional waste issues that we need to focus on. We know from public surveys that the appearance of where they live matters to people enormously. Over 800,000 fly tipping incidents a year is too many. We are making it easier, of course, for businesses to dispose of their waste legally, cracking down on offenders through stronger powers to seize suspect fly tippers' vehicles, and working with the court authorities to ensure the punishment acts as a deterrent. Later in the year, I will be holding a fly tipping summit to discuss these issues. Tackling litter will require changing the attitude and behaviour of those who drop it in the first place. The government's committed to work with Keep Britain Tidy. It's working with businesses, local authorities and community groups on their Love Where You Live campaign, because this campaign captures the public's imagination and inspires civic pride, particularly important, if I may say so, in this Olympic year. Cigarette butts, chewed gum, fast food leftovers are amongst the items most frequently discarded as litter from vehicles, a particular problem for local authorities to contend with. In March, the Defra Secretary of State, Caroline Spellman, and I met with businesses and trade associations and local authority representatives to look at ways of tackling this. We all recognise that changing attitudes and behaviour is the key, and much can be done through voluntary approaches to tackle littering from vehicles. But the government's mind is not closed to the regulatory route, if that can help too. London boroughs will very soon start using powers under private legislation to issue a civil penalty against the registered keeper of a vehicle from which littering has occurred. We want to see how that works in practice and see whether this can indeed curb this abuse. Well, perhaps I can now look back after 9 months in this role and recognise that there are still enormous challenges for us in government, but you also in industry. For the government cannot solve these on its own. We need to work together in partnership. We need to continue a real step change in our attitudes. We need to ensure that everyone no longer sees something as waste, but as a resource. And local authorities have a crucial role to play. And I recognise that some local authorities are really ahead of the game in this. They receive revenue from recycling. They know the quality issues. They know where their waste and recycling is going and value their residents as partners in recycling. The waste management companies are also a key cog in the chain. They are, in fact, resource management companies, and maximising the value of the resources they handle will be the imperative for the future. In a world where we have fewer resources and many more people, the importance of resource security and of waste as a key part of that will mean that the environmental and economic opportunities are there for the taking. Thank you very much.
Well, I'd like to congratulate the Minister on his almost second perfect timing for his presentation there. The good news is that that second perfect timing means that he has a few minutes left for Q&A from you, the audience. The Minister advises me that he's old enough and experienced enough to direct traffic for himself. So if you'd like to signal your question in the time-honoured way, say who you are, where you come from, and make your question crisp but sharp. Thank you very much. Minister.
Yes, hello. Yes, you're okay, Caroline, I can hear.
Thank you very much. It's good to have an update on the waste review so far.
Yes.
A couple of points I wanted to know if you could tell me if there's been any progress or what progress has been made. One on AD plants and
Yes.
and getting UK manufacturers to make better quality, longer-lasting goods so there is less waste?
Well, AD, I think, is an amazing technology and one which I would like to see greatly encouraged. I think the big advantage is that it can be quite localised, it can be quite small scale, and as you rightly say, it's a perfect vehicle for converting food waste and wet waste into useful energy resource. There are issues, of course, involved with AD, and one of the issues which we're having to contend with is quite strongly incentivised as an energy generator, as you know, through various tech energy schemes. But I'm concerned about getting the balance right between non-waste feedstocks and purpose-grown crops, because I think the last thing we would like to see is precious agricultural land taken up with the production of crops for sole AD use. In partnership with food waste, AD is a perfect proposition, and I'm hoping we will see considerable expansion of that sector. There's already quite a lot of new plants going in all the time. As far as manufacturing is concerned, I think you've hit on a really important area. A design of products so that they can in fact have a longer life, if only because the elements that matter within a product can be replaced and renewed. In other words, a part can be a manufactured product can be disassembled and key elements replaced. I think lies at the heart of a lot of design. Rolls-Royce engines in Derby, not very far away from Gedling, Rolls-Royce engines don't actually sell their engines anymore. They lease them because they've found that they can update their engines and keep those scarce and rare elements by just replacing the parts that really matter to keep the engine airworthy. And that surely is a way forward for so many manufactured products. I think good design lies at the heart of reducing a lot of waste in products. Yes? No need to introduce us.
Okay, thank you, Minister. What was apparent from your presentation or speech today was working in partnership.
Yes.
And I think that's a key message for us all. We're all in this together. We need to work together to deliver a solution.
Yes.
But how do you see CIWM and government working together in partnership to try and deliver some of your messages today?
Well, I think if we look at things like the MRF Code of Practice, which is one of the things which I've trailed today, that is something where I'd expect you as an institute to actually have a real engagement with us. We see the whole industry really as being still young and developing. It is the actual structure of this industry still has huge scope for innovation and development. And I think it's government's job to try and foster that, and you can do that through an institution like yours, which actually provides a professional skill base for the people engaged in that industry. And if you're going to have standards in the industry, if you're going to have quality in the products that the industry is actually handling, and the products such as the recyclate that is coming out of the industry, then you need a professional body to lie at the heart of that. And so that's why CIWM, to my mind, has a key role to play. And I hope that anything I do is supportive of your role. There's one right at the back up there. Well, there's a fair criticism, and one which actually I try and tackle in the way in which I reach decisions and in the way I conduct myself in my job. It's true that you can get a silo mentality in government, and it's very important to try and break this down. And to do that, I'm very fortunate because I have a number of colleagues in government, in other departments, with whom I meet regularly. So, for example, I meet Bob Neal every month as a matter of routine. And we go through and talk about matters affecting the whole of the Defra agenda, not just waste. But I have to say waste figures pretty highly on it because we are very much dependent upon the local authorities and the way in which they present their refuse, in effect, to the industry for the reprocessing process. And so we know how important this is, and we understand the sensibilities on this. And I think, actually, the way in which this matter is being developed and actually being answered by the industry is proving to be a very satisfactory one. And the fact that there's a very large amount of money being put into this issue by CLG, it must be good for the industry as a whole.
All of these, if we can. Okay.
We've got to put down there.
Thanks, Andy.
It's Councillor Tiwari. Just wanted to ask the manufacturing industry. Before, the things used to last for a long time.
Yes.
And now they are, like, take for example, boilers. Central heating boiler used to last 20 years, now only lasts 6 years. And same with the cars. If something goes wrong, you have to take out the whole part, whole thing instead of a small part. So this is all wasteful, isn't it?
No. Well, this comes back to a point I think I made in my answer to the first question, is that designed to actually avoid that happening is really important. I'm very disappointed to hear what you say about boilers, because I've just installed a boiler. The previous one did last 20 years, and I hope, given the amount I've paid for this new one, that it's going to last more than 6. Otherwise, I've miscalculated, I think. So I think I'm getting the gestures. Unfortunately, not from you, I hasten to say, but from my private secretary, because we've got a vote in the House of Lords, or we may have a vote in the House of Lords, to which I've got to go back to be there. So I do apologise for not staying longer at the conference. But what I said about the institution and the value that I think it brings to the industry is very important. I'm really pleased that I've had the opportunity of this conference to look at the waste review 1 year on and my first 9 months in office. And I look forward to working with you for the future. And thank you very much.